Hello and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and we've got an intriguing puzzle called Magic Squares and Magic Pairs today, and this is quite approachable Sudoku, which is very relevant because we still have the quite approachable Sudoku hunt on Patreon, and we're getting hundreds and hundreds of entries into that. Well done everybody who's done it. Some people did it within an hour, which is extraordinary. Quite a lot of people have done it within a day. And others have taken a few days. They've done it at their leisure. They've got stuck on one maybe, but generally everybody is agreed that the puzzles are quite approachable. Not quite as easy as genuinely approachable Sudoku, but quite approachable. They're always pretty much of the standard of the puzzles in our apps, which they represent, one for each app. So you can find your way to those apps and to Patreon in the links under the video. Now, before I start on this video, as occasionally on the channel, I have to offer an apology for what happened at the end of yesterday's video, where I finished with this grid and claimed it was correct. Now, as almost every single comment pointed out, it wasn't. There was one typo error in the grid. If you look in box 1 or row 2 or column 1, you will see that there are 2 2s and no 5s in all of those places. And that means that this 2, which is quite obviously in a 6 cage with a 1 and therefore is not right, has to be a 5. And that is what brings up the looks good to me sign. And as people pointed out, the fact that it didn't appear should have alerted me that the puzzle was not correctly finished. But I admit I didn't think of it. I mean, I guess we do enough puzzles where that doesn't come up, that I wasn't remembering that I should wait to see it this time. So apologies to Thunderstruck, and it was a brilliant puzzle. It didn't deserve a fat-fingered finish by a fool, but it got one, and we have corrected that now, finally. So not a great 2 or 3 days for me after the problems with the gas video before that, but let's hope for better things today. And fingers crossed, although not while typing. Magic Squares and Magic Pairs by Mr. Mo, who is a new constructor to the channel. I think this is his first Sudoku construction ever, so looking forward to this. Normal Sudoku rules apply. The grey 3x3 boxes are magic squares with each 3-cell row, column and diagonal summing to the same total. So that row must add to the same as each of those rows, and they all add to the same as each column in the 3x3, and the total is still the same for the 3-cell diagonals, and yet we're using the digits 1 to 9, of course, because we're following normal Sudoku rules. So that applies for each grey box. Now, if you look at the cages, you will see that some of them have implausibly small numbers. Now, they are not totals for the whole cage. The contents of each cage are each pair of 2 different digits, which sum to the small number in the top left corner. And it gives an example. A cage with a clue of 6 would have to contain the digits 1, 2, 4, and 5. Now that's because the 2 ways of adding up to 6 with Sudoku digits are 1 and 5 and 2 plus 4. So effectively, actually, we could deduce that if there was a cage with a clue of 6, it would have to be 4 cells big. So we'd even know that. And that those digits would be 1, 2, 4, 5. So it's an unusual rule set, which is effectively telling us what the contents of each cage are. But we still have to work out how to complete the grid to obey the rules. Do give it a try. As I say, this is quite approachable. If you've been wondering whether to try one of our puzzles at some point, give this one a go. There's probably a couple of things that it would help to know about magic squares, but I will get to them early in the video. How about that? And you could watch those if you want that help. But do give it a try. It's on the link under the video. I'm going to start now. Let's get cracking. And the first thing I know about magic squares is that they have a 5 in the middle. And we've found that out over the years. Now, somebody did send a lovely, very elegant, simple proof of that. And I can't remember exactly what it was. But, okay, let me try this. If we know that the numbers 1 to 9 add up to 45. If you didn't know that, it is a secret, but you're on the inside now. So the box adds up to 45. So each row adds up to a third of 45 because of the magic square rule. So we're looking for 15 in each of 3, 6, 8 different orientations. And one number is in 6 of those. No, it's in, yes, it is. It's in no, 4 of those, 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, and 2 diagonals. And it goes with every other number in those places to make 15 in some way. So if you took a number lower than 5, you can't put 4 together with a lower number, 1, say. You can't put 2 low numbers together and still get to 15. So if 4 was the central number, it would have to join on with a 1 somewhere around it, but then you'd need a 10 on the other side. So if 4 was there and 1 was there, that would have to be 10. That's not allowed. And the same is true if you go high in the middle. If you had a 6 here, it just couldn't go with a higher number anywhere. It couldn't go with a 9 anywhere because you'd already have got to 15 in that direction. So 5 is the only possibility for the middle. That's probably not the proof we were sent, but it does work. Now, the other thing to know about magic squares is that however you try and make up a magic square, you will end up with this 5 in the middle and then odd numbers as its contiguous neighbours. And that is, I can't demonstrate that as cleanly, but it is a function of odd and even numbers, that you will need to have odd numbers in these positions and even numbers in the corners of the square. So I'm actually, why not? Let's just mark in the possible odd and even numbers so that we know as we go through the puzzle that they are there. And we will still have to be a bit cautious in these magic squares to make sure that they do add up to 15 in every orientation. But now let's move on to the cages. So for instance, a 3 cage, that's obviously 1, 2. And straight away that's helpful because now this pair, which had to be either 1, 9 to add to 5 to make 15 or 3, 7, well, it can't be 1, 9 anymore, or you'd get 2 9s in the row. So that's a 3, 7 pair. This must be a 1, 9 pair. Now, I don't think that actually allows us to do anything with the even numbers yet. So we'll leave that in this state. Right, this is a 10 cage. So there are 4 pairs of digits that add to 10. Now, remembering the secret that the total of 1 to 9 is 45, this row adds up to 45. But this 10 cage contents add up to 4 times 10, which is 40. We subtract 40 from 45 and we know this digit that's in the row but not in the cage is also a 5. That's going to give us a 5 in one of those places and one of, not like that, one of these. And that's interesting because this 15 cage, how do you make up 15 in 2 digits? Either 6 plus 9 or 7 plus 8. So those are the contents of this cage, which is clearly inhibiting that one being a 5. So we know where 5 goes in column 3 now. Then there's going to be a 5 in one of these 2 cages. Now we must be able to tell whether 5 is in the 12 cage or not. How do you make up 12? Well, you can use 9, 8 or 7 and they would go with 3, 4 or 5. So this cage is made up of those digits and that does include 5. So 5 is not outside the cage in this box. That must be a 5. This isn't. In fact, these 3 digits are 1, 2 and 6 because we know that 3, 9, 4, 8 and 5, 7 are in here. And if they're 1, 2 and 6, we can't have another 2 and 6 in the column. So those 2 become a 4, 8 pair. And these 2 become where 2 and 6 are. And there's probably 2 orientations of this square possible now, but I haven't resolved it. But let's have a look at this 15 cage. 6, 7, 8, 9 again, just like this one was. And now 6 and 8, in fact. There's an 8 in one of those 2 cells. There's a 6 in one of those 3. So they can't be in this column. That's a 7, 9 pair. This is a 6, 8 pair. 2 in this column, we can see, can't be in these cells because there's a 1, 2, 6 triple there. So it's got to be down here. That now becomes a 3, 4, 7 triple. And this is an 8, 9 pair. And the 7 that we got here has sorted out 3 and 7 at the top. Actually, now I think there's 2 orientations of this square. Because on one side of it, it's going to say 8, 1, 6. But I still don't know whether that's top or bottom. So we carry on. These are 1, 3, 4. We must know what this cell is. It's a 1. Oh, hang on. Oh, what have I done? 2, 5, 7, 1, 3, 4. No, it's not a 1. There's a 1 in there. It's a 5. There we go. and that's going to leave a 5 in one of those two cells. We call this pattern an X-wing. Don't know quite how that's going to resolve yet. Now, what about this 5 cage? Right, yes, that is going to be made up of the numbers 1 and 4, 2 and 3, because those are the two ways you make 5. So that's 1 or 3, that's 2 or 4, this is 1 or 2. Right, what I'm noticing first before I tackle the magic square in the middle is that this 17 cage is clearly a 9-8 pair. That's the only way to make up 17. And therefore, is this going to be a 1-9 pair or a 7-3 pair surrounding this 5? Well, it can't be the 1-9 pair. So we can put in 3 and 7 in the central box, take them out of those two cells. That gives us a 1 and 9 pair looking at that cell and this one, which resolves the 8, 9 over here. This can't be a 3 because we've got one in the cage. There must now be a 4 in one of these two cells. So that's not a 4. It hasn't quite finished working on the central box. Now, what else can I do? Right, 3 can't have a 2 there because this set has to add up to 15. If you had a 2 there, you'd need a 10 here. So this is a 4. That's an 8 to make the sum work. We can fill in the evens and then 9 here and 1 here, and you can see 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15 in every orientation. This now can't be a 2 because that's in place. So 1, 2, 6, 1 there. This is now a 7. It sees a 3 and a 4 in its row. This cage has got its 6 already, and that cell can't be a 7 because of this. Now, where should we look next? Right, let's have a think about this 9 cage. That is going to contain, well, 8 digits. Every digit under 9 can be used in that cage because it can go with one of the others to make up the sum 9, but not 9 itself. Now, if none of those cells can be a 9, then where's 9 in the bottom row? Well, clearly it's got to be here. So we can fill that in. Now, the other interesting thing is we can actually use what's called the law of leftovers on this cage. This is going to contain the digits 1 to 8. Along the rest of the bottom row, we have a 9, a 2, and whatever this is. Now, the interesting thing about that is we know this cage doesn't have a 9 in it, but it must have a 2 and whatever this is in it, and they're not in the bottom row, because those two cells see all of those. So the 2 and whatever this is have to be in these two cells. So we can put the 2 in there, and this now has to be just 1 or 3. And it's the same in both cases. I don't know if that means 2 can't be in these two cells. And that means wherever 2 is in this magic square, looking through the 5, it's got to be opposite 8. And that means 8 can't be in these two cells, which we could actually have worked out from the fact that 8 is in one of those two and one of those two. That uses up the 8s for the 7, for row 7 and 8, and the 8 in this box must be in row 9. But don't think I've finished. 7 though is looking at this cell, and it's looking at both of these. And remember, they have to add up to 10 with odd numbers, and now they can't use 7. They've got to be 1 and 9, and that's going to tidy up quite a lot of things. We'll take 1 9 out of that pair. We can take 9 out of this cell, so the 8 pair is resolved. The 8 9 pair there is resolved. That resolves the 6 8 pair here. These two can't be 1 because of these 1s, and we can place 1 in box 9. And in fact, that's, as we said, they had to be the same, and they are now. This has to be 3 or 4 in the row, but we've got the 4, so that's 3. And box 9 is complete, like box 5. Maybe it can sort out this set. Well, that has to be a 7, because it can't be 3. Now, that is 4 or 6. We need a 2 in one of these positions, but if we put a 2 here, this column would not work. We'd have 2 plus 1, and we'd need a 12 there. So we put 2 here. Now we can make all of these sums of 15 work with a 4, an 8, and a 6. And that magic square is complete as well. So we can put in a 4 here. What have we got? 5, 6 and 7. That's got to be a 6 because there's 5 and 7 in the column already. Then we have a pair left over. So 8 now is looking at that cell. And I think this cage is complete here with 8, 9, 7, 6. What else can we do? This 2, 1 pair has been resolved. That 8 is now looking across here. So we get a 4 there and an 8 here. Again, 8 can't go with 9 because they'd already add up to 17 in this 3 cell row. So 8, 1, 6, and all the magic squares are done now. Subject to typos, I suppose. Now I've got 1, 2 and 4 to put in the central column. They're pretty easy to fill in now. This cage, remember, will not have a 9 in it. It will have all the other digits. So it needs an 8 in it. That's got to be here. This must be a 6, 5 pair, and we know which way round they go thanks to this 6. I think we're now finishing off 3 there. We can do 6 and 9 in row 2. 3 and 7 in these central columns. That fixes 5 and 7. What have we got up here? We've got a 9 and a 4 to go. So this has been quite approachable, I think. Really not too bad. Maybe verging on genuinely approachable, although we had to do a little bit of work with the magic squares first. And finishing off, let's hope if I've got everything right, I will remember that this ought to bring up, yay, looks good to me. And there we go. That is the solution to magic squares and magic pairs by Mr. Mo. And there are probably other ways through it because there's, as I said at the start, there's quite a lot of information given. But it's a nice little fun puzzle. And we're grateful to Mr. Mo. We wish him luck in his constructing career. And that's a nice start. I mean, an interesting rule set and quite a generous amount of cages, I reckon, given that rule set. Thanks for that. Thank you, as always, for watching, and hope to see you again soon on the channel. Bye for now.